Hi my loves. I wanted to do a video for you today on shame and letting go of shame. I thought at first that this video for you was going to be on reclaiming our power, and it is in so many ways, but I also had to do some soul searching and realize that when we're claiming our power, not before necessarily, a lot of times it's still the work that we have to do as survivors, as those of us who've undergone trauma, sexual abuse, violence against our bodies and our minds and our souls, racialized violence, fat phobia. The shame is deep within us, and a lot of times we've accepted that shame within ourselves, not even realizing it, not even meaning to. But so reclaiming our power doesn't have to be something that we do just once. And I think that's a big part of how I'm able to write about the difficult topics that I write about. And so often I'm asked, like, how are you able to write about the trauma? How are you able to write about rape and fatness and divorce and, you know, some of the really sticky, ugly things that I write about? And yeah, I'm always searching for beauty. I'm always searching for light. Suicide is another one. As someone who has struggled since I was about 13 years old with suicidal ideations, and, you know, I grew up Catholic. So shame was deeply embedded within me, but it was something else that was put upon me by my mother without meaning to. She thought she was trying to protect me, and she would always lift up my shirt, you know, and throughout the day, I'm gonna pull it back down. That's where I want it. And that's what throughout the day, she would lift up my shirt. And I developed breasts when I was 11, I think. I was already wearing a bigger size bra than my mom, and so that was something that I learned quickly was, you know, not acceptable, and yet that's what the boys wanted. That's what men really had started becoming attracted to me, because I looked much older than I was. I was 12 in the body of a 20-year-old, and my face, my daughter has commented that my face has looked very similar since I was about 12 years old. I'm 36 now, but that means that before I really understood my own power, right? I felt it bubbling and brewing within me, but my mom, growing up Catholic and having undergone sexual trauma herself from a very young age, she was trying to protect me, and she was trying to cover me up, but she was instilling shame within me. And, you know, and so I thought that my power then was only through my body, and I hadn't recognized where it really came from. And so now my daughter is 9 years old, almost 10. And she, you know, her body is changing in the same ways that mine did. And you know, instead of covering her up, you know, it's like she wants to cover up, and that's fine. That's totally fine. And I tell her, you know, that's acceptable, whatever you want to do with your body. But I don't cover her up, and I tell her those are your chi-chis, and if you want to have them be free, have them be free. You know, and I think that you know, this is a sticky issue, and you know, you have to believe whatever you believe. But for me, that was so freeing to realize that I can change the cycle by releasing that shame. So in terms of our writing, you know, another way that shame is put upon us is that we're not ready, we're not good enough, we're not, we haven't reached that level of our craft. Look, I was applying to the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts, in poetry. Before I had a book out, I was getting rejection after rejection. I was still in my MFA program and was getting, you know, mixed feedback from my instructors, you know, this advice and that advice. And I was, what, 27, 28, my daughter was 1 or 2, and I said, you know what, I've known I was a poet since I was a little girl. I've been writing from these places deep within me. I've known my power as a bruja, as a witch, as a woman, as a child of God. You know, I've known my own power and my own strength, but I was still seeking that external validation. And even applying for the NEA, in some ways, I was still seeking that external validation. A lot of it was just that I've been living in poverty all these years as an adjunct, and I needed funds to continue writing. But you know, I know a lot of people that won't even consider applying, because it is just, you know, it's so shameful for them, the thought that they don't have these accolades, they don't have these awards. So I applied and I won, right? I think it was the first time I had ever applied, and I earned this NEA in poetry, $25,000 for the year to just get to write and write and write, and I did. And I told my mentor in my MFA program, who is kind of a big shot. She had several books published, several media awards, the director of a national writing conference. So really just, you know, someone that if you're seeking that kind of external validation, like I was coming from this place of shame, you know, she would be someone that you would feel like you would want that affirmation from, right? And so when I come to her telling her, and just with all of my excitement and my joy, and I can't believe it, and I was crying when I found out, and she writes back to me and tells me that now I can begin the work of becoming a poet. And the way that that hit me, I think at the time, that I could begin the work of becoming a poet, right? Was again this sense of shame that she didn't think that I deserved it, that somehow it was this lucky thing, or that maybe my ego was too big. She had mentioned to me a couple of times that maybe I was coming from this place of pride, right? Whenever I asserted myself, and as a Latina, as you know, a woman who has been through trauma. And also someone who just knows deep down my worth and my value, as I hope that you do. This was such a kind of a slamming, you know, moment. It just brought me down. And I think that might be what she had intended. And, you know, and that's something that I won't examine here, her intentions, but just what that meant to me. And what I want for all of you to take away from this is that you are already the powerful being that you know you are. I already was the poet that I knew that I was. I already knew my strength, but I was seeking, just like I had been seeking that attention from the boys and the men when I was, you know, really way too young to have understood that the power was coming from within me, and that, you know, people might have been attracted to my sexuality and to my body, but that wasn't the attraction that I was putting out there, and that's not the attraction that I'm putting out in my writing. What I'm putting out in my writing is my power, and claiming that and letting go of the shame and just re-shedding the shame every single time. And that I would say to that mentor now, no, I'm already a poet. I was born a poet, right? I don't have to become a poet, right? And that's what I want you to know. You were born a child of God. You were born a goddess. You were born a bruja. You were born a witch. You were born a powerful woman. You were born, right, with those things. You came into this world with that light, and you get to shine that light. You get to choose that shine. No, don't let anybody tell you to cover up your chichis. Don't let anybody tell you to cover up your shine and your worth, right? Don't let anybody try to strip that away from you. You go out and you apply for those things. You write those truths down. You send them out. Believe in yourself. I believe in you. Thank you so much for listening. I love you.